It's always a pleasure to come to the expos, well, any kind of organization, professional organization, and present to you guys. So thanks for having me. I have 3 really good words, well, maybe a few more words, but it's a really short presentation. So the intent of this presentation, though, is to add your guys' perspective to it too. I have my own thoughts on it. If anybody wants to speak up and share, please do. You guys are in the career field, you know what's going on. I really believe that if you want to enhance a career in HTM, which is already a wonderful career path, you know, adding ultrasound service to it is just a nice way to do it. And we're going to talk about the benefits of it, ways to accomplish it, and we have a short video at the end if it works. And I say if it works because my whole presentation got corrupted, and I don't know how it did it. So I rebuilt it last night, and I didn't get to test the video, but it's there. But hopefully it's just a short video, like less than 2 minutes. So, and it's just a testimonial, basically talking from a person that was a biomed that we hired, and it's kind of his career path. So kind of shows you what he did. And wow, the lights are going to be exciting. It's no, and it's not me, trust me. So let's get started with any luck. Now it's not working. It was working. I checked it before. Huh. And the lights are going crazy. So did I hit a switch? I don't think I did. No worries. It was working. I checked it when you first handed it to me. There it goes. What's that? The first one, that's fine. I was just about to advance forward. So there we go. My name's Jim Rickner. I'm with Advanced Ultrasound. I'm the Director of Service and Training. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll get through this. Like I said, it's not overly long, so we'll get through it. What are we going to talk today? Why ultrasound? Why use that as a mechanism? Ultrasound has some benefits over other imaging modalities. We'll talk about them. We're going to talk about how to sell this to your management if you're trying to do it inside your own hospital group. Selling it to the management is sometimes an obstacle, but if you put it in perspective, there's a lot of benefits to it. So we'll talk about some of those. Training / growth path. We're going to talk about different opportunities for you to become trained in ultrasound and take advantage of those opportunities. There's many ways. We're going to talk about them. And then how you can stand out. And standing out is something that you probably want to do in any job you do. But when you're trying to sell it to management, when you're trying to bring ultrasound in-house, and you want to be the individual that champions that, standing out helps your chances of convincing management, right? If you're just mediocre at your job and you're saying, well, I'm going to, you know, I want to add on this extra responsibility, well, nobody's going to buy it. So we're going to talk about how ways that we can stand out and how ultrasound allows you to do just that. Why ultrasound? Well, it's a way to self-improve. When I go to work, there's nothing better to me than being able to learn something new. When you do the same thing day in and day out, it kind of gets monotonous, right? It's like me doing PM on an ultrasound now. I do them. I've probably done 10,000 of them now, and it's just not the highlight of my day. On the other hand, when I can come to a meeting like this and somebody asks me a question or tells me about something that's going on in the industry and I learn something, I love that. That's self-improvement, right? And ultrasound certainly will allow you to enhance and improve your knowledge Was that a question?
No, sorry.
No, you're fine. So easiest imaging modality to learn, and it really is. Most of us know a little bit about Windows computers already. Most ultrasounds run on Windows computers, so that's also an advantage. So out of all the MRI, the CT, X-ray, ultrasound is probably the easiest to learn. The most difficult thing about learning ultrasound is there's maybe 70 different models of them, right? And each one's a little different. And that makes it probably the most complex portion. But if you go to any kind of ultrasound training course, one of the very first things you should learn is that every ultrasound runs the same way. They all work the same way. They just change the names of the boards to keep us confused, right? But they all do the same thing. So once you get comfortable with a couple different of the main models, if you will, the Logic E9s, the Epics, the 22s, 33s, then you'll be set up and you'll actually understand how ultrasounds work. And when you walk up against one that you've never seen, you don't go, well, I don't know how this works, because you do. You already know how they work. Low risk, there's no radiation. You don't have to have any really specialized tools. There's no magnets, there's no nothing. You don't have to worry about quenching anything. It's just real easy and safe to work with. It's clearly a valuable skill set. If nothing else, you learn a new modality, which increases your worth. You can earn CE credits. Clearly you are doing that today. But if you go to any of the classes, if they're accredited, right now, Amy allows you to earn 1 CE credit per hour of training. So my company, for example, offers an introduction to ultrasound plus 2 system trainings that add up to 5 days of training. And that's 40 hours of credits. So, you know, pretty valuable if you're trying to advance your career and you need CE credits, or if you're trying to recertify. And why ultrasound? Well, you can save your company, your hospital, your organization money. And we're going to talk about that more in detail. But I mean, most hospitals would love to save a little bit of money, especially administrators, right? And some of the administrators get bonused on what they don't spend. You can lower the cost of medical care. So saving money is a pretty big one. How to sell management? Well, save money, right? That's one way. But one of the things that most people don't understand is if you have a staff in-house that can work on ultrasound, you have faster response time, you have reduced downtime, which means more revenue for the hospital because they're not down, they're not waiting for GE or Philips service engineer to show up because they quickly respond in 2 or 3 days, right? So you're not down for those 2 or 3 days while they schedule a call. You get the call, you go down, you take care of the problem, you order parts if needed, and the system gets up and running much faster. Cost savings, you know, OEM rates, they vary throughout the nation, but clearly in California, you're paying about $300 an hour for labor. And, you know, if you learn to do it yourself, that saves $300 an hour in labor. There is a cost of you and your colleagues as well, but they're paying you in any case, right? So the cost savings is pretty significant. You can solve most problems in-house. You may not even need to order parts because today's ultrasound, when we talk about it, our #1 failure in ultrasound is software. So a lot of times you can go right to the system if you're prepared and fix it by loading software on a new hard drive if you need to, and you're up and running. Again, you know, if you can fix stuff without having to go outside of your organization, it saves a lot of money, right? Parts are expensive out there. Even if you go to a third party, which we are, we're still 60% of the OEM, which is a cost savings. But if you can do it in-house without dispatching an engineer on site, you can save a lot of money. Bring ultrasound service in-house. You can become the trained expert. Okay, even if you're the first one in your group that wants to take on this task, you become the trained expert. From there, you can build your own team, right? You can handpick the people you want to work with and build a team right inside your BMET group. So inside your hospital group. So it's a wonderful way to bring and help lower costs, increase efficiency for everybody. And to me, I don't know why people don't do it. Yes?
How would you work around the proprietary issues, dongles and what have you?
Right, and we're going to cover some of that. It's a great question. There is some dongles and some proprietary issues, but for the most part, if you understand and you're proactive, not reactive, you go out and you do a copy of the hard drive as an example. You make a ghosted copy of a hard drive. Well, now you don't need a dongle to reload software. Why? Because you got a bit-for-bit copy of your hard drive. So there are ways, workarounds, and we work with you. We can train you to show you those ways of doing it. Every once in a while, there's no way around it. But that's the exception, not the rule. Okay, I would say 95% of the time, we don't need to call the OEM to get a tech admin access or a super user password or a dongle. We can fix it because we're proactive on how we do it. And that's where training comes in, and we're going to talk a lot about that too. Okay. Any other questions on maybe how you can approach management with this idea? Because I do believe it's a huge cost savings for hospitals. I've worked with several hospitals throughout the United States bringing their ultrasound in-house, and it's been very successful. All right. We talked training path, and there's several paths. I just like to give you some ideas on how you can enhance your knowledge about ultrasound at very little to no cost. And then from there, maybe there is some cost associated with it, but hopefully the hospital supports some of that, or your organization. Well, so what happens if you have OEM service agreements? They come in, they do all the service for you, but there's nothing stopping you from shadowing their FSC while they're on site. That's free training. And they can't prevent you from doing it because it's your equipment, right? It's not their equipment, it's your equipment. So take the knowledge from their FSC. Most of them are more than willing to work with you. Some are not. But if they're not, then find the one that will and work with them. They have a lot of knowledge. They're factory trained, right? You can attend OEM training. It's expensive. They don't always give you all the tools you need. For example, Philips, if you go to a Philips class and they have their own engineers in the same class that you're at, they'll segregate you out and teach them more than what they teach the biomed, which is, to me, kind of defeats the purpose. But for the most part, there's some really good OEM training out there, albeit fairly expensive, unless you buy it with the system, right? If you start purchasing systems, I have a hospital group that bought 40 Epics, and part of their package for their 40 Epics was training from Philips on how to maintain them. So they built in a training as part of their purchase agreement. So there's some opportunities as your hospital group does obtain equipment to build in OEM training perhaps. You can obtain service documentation. If you don't know how to do a PM checklist, get one of their PM checklists. They're going to give you a copy of it when they're done because you need it for your records. So as long as you understand the steps that it takes to complete a PM, maybe you can shadow their FSC while he's doing one or she's doing one, and now you're qualified. Now you know all the things that are needed to be accomplished in a PM. There's ACR PMs, which is a higher level of PM. Find out what they add to the PM because they charge you extra for it. So these steps are things that you might be able to do and save money for yourselves. There's user manuals available. Most modern ultrasound, the user manual is right on the ultrasound itself. You hit the F1 or F2 key, it says help on it and it brings up a user manual. But you have access to the user manuals, so you can use those to increase your knowledge. And clearly service manuals. Now there's a couple levels. Normally there's a service manual and a proprietary service manual. But even the service manual that they'll provide you is a wonderful tool. Sorry. So service manuals are a great tool to learn about your ultrasound. So what else? Well, you have professional organizations. You're at one right now, MD Expo. I listed some others that are scattered throughout the nation. You have CMIA here, California. They just had a wonderful symposium in Sacramento. CABMET is Colorado. They've been around for a while. Florida and Illinois. Illinois just won Professional Organization of the Year from Amy. So they're scattered throughout the United States. So if you're not in California, there's a good chance you'll be able to find an organization. If you're in California, CMIA, and they normally have a meeting every other month, and they have a presenter come in and talk about a subject. So if you're interested in ultrasound and you're part of the CMIA chapter, you can say, hey, you know, I'd like to hear a vendor come in and talk about ultrasound. So gives you an opportunity to build your network. A bunch of people go to those, a bunch of vendors, a bunch of companies, and a bunch of biomeds. And they all talk about the whole community, right? So it's a great way to build a network. No cost training. It's part of the every other month meeting. And they almost always, at the end of a meeting, discuss, vendors will stand up and say, hey, I have an opening for 5 people in this area. So there's some job opportunities are part of these organizations. So again, another opportunity to try to maybe work into ultrasound. Attend ultrasound basics / PM courses. We offer those. A lot of companies do. So you can choose the company you want to deal with, you want to work with. But part of it is learning the language of the sonographer, because we all know they talk in a little bit of a different language. You know, my image sucks, and that's a technical term, right? Right? And you go, well, what do you mean it sucks? And they're, well, it's mushy. Another technical term, right? So we get to learn the language of the sonographer during ultrasound basics. And we also understand PM fundamentals. Okay, the fundamentals of how to accomplish a thorough and complete PM. We also get to talk about how ultrasounds all work the exact same way, which is part of what we talk about in our basics class. So that if you don't have a lot of experience and you walk into one you haven't seen, as I mentioned earlier, you go, oh, well, they all work the same way. So I just have to find, you know, the different board names, but they're all going to do the same functions. Get trained for first call. It's a wonderful way to save yourself some money, because if you can go out there and do a first call, maybe do a software reload, recognize that it's a probe problem, some of the basic things that you're going to run across on first calls, you can fix it without having to dispatch an engineer, right? Immediate savings right there, just by knowing some of the fundamentals of ultrasound. Probes are one of the highest failure items in ultrasound. You go in there, rather than call GE and say, can you come take a look at my system? You go take a look at it. You recognize there's a dropout. You put a different probe on there. The dropout's gone. You know it's a probe problem. Order a probe, and there's no engineer been needed, right? So first call is a wonderful way to save money. And it's a great way to start your ultrasound path. To do first call, do you need any specific training? Well, it's nice to have a little, but one of the things you can look for in a training partner also is who does tech support. I mean, if you're going out to look at an ultrasound in your hospital and you don't really know what you're doing, but you want to talk to tech support, call us. You know, we're free. If you call GE, they want a PO. Philips, they want a PO. Call a third-party provider that wants to work with you and partner with you, and we'll give you tech support for free. We'll help you solve your problem if we can. And there's no parts, there's no requirement at that point. And you can attend system-specific training. This is where you guys know your inventory. You know what's in your ultrasound inventory. If you have 80% GE, find the training that will work with GE systems you have in your inventory and get yourself trained up. So system specific is really nice because now you become an expert on what's in your inventory, right? It's not just training to go to training. You're actually building expertise on systems you have in your inventory. Okay, another training path. You can partner with an ISO, an independent service organization, okay, which is what we do. But you want to pick the right company. You don't want to just pick anybody, and people have a lot of questions about what the right company. I can't pick it for you. It's what works for your hospital. But some things that I would look for is, can I attend accredited training classes? ACI, Amy Credentialing Institute. That's what gets you your CEUs, right? All of our courses, as an example, are ACI accredited. So you can guarantee that you're going to get your CEUs and that they'll be worth something, right? They're not just, well, you attended training, but they're not accredited. So I would look for somebody who has accredited training classes. Do they provide on-site training? Will they come to you and train you at your facility? And this can be a huge cost savings for your whole facility. If I can go to your facility and train 5 to 10 biomeds to work in ultrasound, as opposed to you sending 5 or 10 training people to my facility with travel and hotels and the cost of training, that's a huge benefit and cost savings for you guys. So, you know, find out if they have on-site training. I travel all over the nation going into hospitals, and I spend anywhere from 2 days to 5 days working with their clinical engineering department to train up 5 to 6, 7 biomeds to be able to do PMs and system-specific training. And we customize it for your inventory. So that's find out the companies that do that. User technical support. Remember, no PO required, 24/7. Well, if you're going to be working on ultrasound after hours or before hours, it's nice to know that you have some support 24/7, right? So that might be a question you ask. Do you have 24/7 tech support? Is it free? Does the company have a large parts and probes inventory? Is it affordable? Right? Are just because they have a whole bunch of parts, but they're going to charge you the same price as the OEM, that's really not a benefit to you. But if they can save you some money and get you quality parts, that's a big plus. Maybe they don't do probe repair. Maybe they manage probe repair. There is a difference, right? Not all companies do in-house probe repair, but they can manage it for you, which can still end up being a cost savings for you. So keep in mind, you might ask them, do you do probe repair or do you manage probe repair? Might be a differentiator for you guys. Portable repair. I know a lot of hospitals have a huge pool of portable ultrasound systems. Do they do portable repair? Can that save you money? So those are questions I would look at, and clearly are they going to save you money? An example, and I'm not picking on anybody, so I'm just showing you examples. Part Source is one-stop shopping, right? It's great. You call them up, you don't have to shop a part. I need this part, and they can get it to you. 99% of the time, they're going to get you a part that you're looking for. But will it save you money? Maybe not. So you have to look what's important to you. Is the cost savings important, or is it one-stop shopping that's important? So I'm not telling you, which way to go. It really is based on what your hospital, what's important to your hospital group, to your management group, right? So these are just a list of questions if you're going to look for an ISO to work with that I might ask them and have an idea on. And I'd look at your pain points. What are my pain points right now? Why I don't get portable repair, probe repair takes a long time. Find your pain points, and those are the questions that you need to dig down and find who's the best partner for your group. You can also bring ultrasound completely in-house, and I mentioned this a couple times, and we call it the empowerment program, but there's different companies that do it. They normally take about 3 years. I say normally about 3 years. Year one, we come in as a full service contract on all your ultrasounds. Okay, so you have, say, 30 ultrasounds in-house, and we give you a full service contract on all those, which means we provide parts, we provide the field service engineers, but while we're there, we also provide all the training you need. So if you want us to come in-house and work with your biomeds, we can do that. Work with you guys, get you trained up, have you do PMs with us, do first call with us. Any service event that happens in your hospital, you guys can join us. But overall, we're responsible for the health of your ultrasounds, okay, for year one, while enhancing your knowledge of ultrasound at the same time. We're not just taking care of the ultrasound, we're getting you ready for year two. And year two, you start doing first call, you start bringing PMs in-house, you take care of the basic ultrasound and accomplish first calls, but you have 24/7 tech support with us or with any company that has a program like this. So you get stuck on something, you can call us, and if we can't help you on tech support, we dispatch our FSE. And again, there's no additional cost for that. We're trying to get you set up to be able to handle it on your own in-house. But when all else fails, you've gone out, you've done first call, you've called tech support, and you can't get your system fixed, then we dispatch an engineer and we take care of getting it fixed for you. So that's year two. Year three, it basically comes back to you now. You have your whole in-house team ready to go. We provide parts support now, okay, so that you don't have to worry about parts or probes, but you're fully capable and you're taking care of it. So your only cost out of pocket now is parts, and we have a parts agreement with you, so we're able to discount parts. So that's a benefit to you because we partnered with you. We give you a parts probe agreement that saves you money on parts and probes. So a path like this is really beneficial to most hospitals who don't have an imaging group but want to bring it in-house to save money. Ultrasound makes this really easy. Again, there's no ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable. There's no radiation program. You don't have to have any of that. You have to have enough people to be able to take care of your ultrasounds. And there is cost associated with it, but to me, the cost associated with it, because you're not hiring a full-time ultrasound guy, you're using a biomed, a clinical engineer to do some ultrasound. And that's your cost savings to me. Any questions on this kind of a program? Anybody had anything like this in their hospital?
I've done stuff like that, but not with ultrasound. I think it's important, the full service is good for the first year, but it's important to have your people shadow like on that second year.
Right. In the first year, they start shadowing. That's part of their training, as well as formal training. We'll come in and do a formal training class.
And that gets the end user used to that person being there.
Right. Right.
Cold turkey.
No, it's a really powerful program. I've worked with hospitals nationwide. A year and a half ago, I was in Maine setting them up for a program just like this. John Muir, a lot of you probably know Nodder, up in Northern California for John Muir Health Systems. I trained all their engineers. They brought it in-house. The only time they need somebody is when they get to overload, and they may have like PMs done at a remote facility, a remote clinic, and they'll call for support at a remote clinic. But all their ultrasound is done in-house now. So it's a wonderful program to help you along. And we talked earlier about, well, how can you convince anybody to want to go down this this path of bringing ultrasound in-house? And you have to be the champion of it. That's the whole point. Somebody has to stand up and say, we really need to do this. We need to because we can save money. We can have better response time. All the things we've talked about that are benefits for the organization. But they have to have the right person to do it, right? And that's the key is you can't be mediocre at your job and then want to make a change that's going to affect everybody, right? So there's a lot of articles out there. I just picked this article up, and it was great. There were 10 points to the article on how you can stand out at work. And to me, adding ultrasound to your repertoire allowed you to use 6 of the 10 without any effort whatsoever. You're just in it. So I want to talk about those 6 of 10. And so many articles, like I said, I pulled this one off the web. You can get them on LinkedIn. You can see them. But adding all these tools to your arsenal, I think will really help you. And it goes beyond just your career. Helps you in life. Do things without being asked. That's one of the main things. And here again, if you can pick up ultrasound or at least first call, because you have support, 24/7 tech support, your sonographer calls you and says, hey, I have an artifact. I'll be right down to look at it. That's doing something without being asked. And if you can't solve it, you need some support. You call 24/7 tech support and we help you through it. Okay, be proactive. Seek out your training. Come to CMIA events. Come to MD Expo events. Find those professional organizations. Talk to your management about getting you into a training program. They're all over. I know we offer them, but Probo offers them. I mean, there's numerous training facilities nationwide that can work with you on ultrasound. Learn systems in your inventory. We kind of brushed on this. You guys know your inventory better than anybody. So if you know your systems in your inventory, why not get trained on those specific systems? That way you're not going in, for example, getting trained on a Voluson E8, but all you have is Logic E9s. Well, why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. But if you know you have Logic E9s, you get trained on them, you become the industry expert, you become your organization's expert, and you can pass that knowledge on to other people. Learn proper probe and care and handling. That's a big one. Probes are the big failure in ultrasound, right? They're expensive. Probably 2,500 is the cheapest probe you ever find, up to $80,000 on a TE probe. So learn the proper way to care for them and handle them, electrical safety check them, clean them, sanitize them, all the different aspects of probe care and handling. Become the expert on that, and that will save your organization money. So those ways of being proactive, you go out and learn these things, you go out and take care of these things, and look in your service manual to find out what chemicals they recommend for that particular probe, or which ones they don't recommend, right? Always offer ideas and suggestions. Well, here again, bringing it in-house might be a suggestion that you feel you go back to your hospital group and say, you know what, after looking at this, you know, we spend, and it varies, but we spend $100,000 a year in ultrasound service. And you can look at, well, I think we can save probably 50% of that. So you could be proactive in that way, have the numbers drawn up, and suggest bringing it in-house. It's a wonderful way to demonstrate or stand out. Become the ultrasound expert. Like I said, you know, ask to go to these trainings, go to the trainings that work for you, become the expert, and then you can pass that knowledge to other people in your group. Do more than your job requires, okay? Add to your list of skills. Nobody wants to work on pumps 365 days a year and never do anything else, you know, ever again, right? So this would be an opportunity to add to your list of skills. Be a leader, you know, be a leader in your group. So stand out, do more than your job requires. Take the lead. Take the lead. And this is hard, especially if you're junior. You know, if you're new to the hospital group, taking the lead and trying to lead by example, be the first to do something that's never been done in your group, becoming the expert. You know, that may seem a little bit awkward, but in reality, it sets you apart, right? And that's what we're talking about. Champion a cause, whatever the cause is. I'm suggesting ultrasound as a great way to benefit the organization, benefit you personally. But if you take the time, you're the first one to suggest it, you're the first one to learn it, and you champion it, you'll shine, you'll stand out. Always offer to help others. And that's one of the things that's just, to me, this is something you can do throughout your life. It doesn't have to be professional. If you can help somebody else, you have some expertise that benefits other people. It doesn't have to be professionally. I'm talking in any aspect of your life. It's always nice to be able to share your knowledge, share your expertise, and get out there and build a team, if you will, right? So those are the 6 ones that in the article they talked about. There were 10 actually listed, but to me, these are things that ultrasound will allow you to do in your professional capacity for sure. Some of them personally to benefit yourself. So this is a short video. Like I said, this is an employee. He's new to ultrasound, and he'll tell you a story. Again, it's a if it plays, please. If it plays, it's 2 minutes long, less than 2 minutes long. So we're not going to bore you to tears, but this is his career path and how he got into ultrasound. And I just think it's a good example of what we can do here. So let's see if it'll play. It will, but no sound. I'm stopping it. I don't know why there's no sound. That's gonna suck. And I don't know this computer. I need to get my glasses. Yeah, that'll be a problem. That's what I was wondering if it's on that. It's not. Let's see.
Has everybody signed in?
Not sure this is gonna work, only because of the volume. I would have thought this would have made sound. Let me try it one more time. I doubt I did anything. Nope. All right, so I'll tell you a story. I apologize for that. Like I said, it works on my computer. My speakers play it, so that's all I can tell you. And that's on my computer. He was a 22-year-old Air Force vet. He worked for electronics at the beginning of his career and then moved into manpower towards the end of his career for the last 8 to 10 years. And when he got to the end of his career, they had a program called Skill Bridge that allowed him to transition into something he wanted. And he wanted to benefit people. He wanted to go into some job that would allow him to help people and yet help, kind of motivate him, something he wanted to go to work to every day. And so during the Skill Bridge program, he learned about biomedical engineering and said that's great. So he went to college for it in San Antonio, Texas. At the same time, he went to work for a biomed company and got to work with a lot of the professors at the college, as well as the company he worked for. And he learned to do a lot of sterilizers and pumps. And so he worked at that for quite a while. And while he was finishing up his degree, part of the things that we do is we go out to these colleges and we recruit people. So we went out to the college and asked, for some candidates for a position in Texas. And his name came up. We interviewed him, and he took the opportunity to move from basically a biomedical engineering company into AUS as an ultrasound field service engineer. He's been very successful at it. He had a little bump in his pay, so he was excited about that opportunity. And he talks about all this in his video. And he's still able to help patients. He helps lower the cost of medical care. And he gets the reward of working on the equipment and with great people. So that's kind of his story. I kind of use it because that's what this whole class is kind of about, is you can use ultrasound. There are many people out there, many programs out there that can help you move into a bigger role in imaging. And if you want to go beyond ultrasound, I know X-ray techs that are getting $150,000 a year, and that's for Mary X-ray, who doesn't pay very well. Just kidding, but anyway, just playing. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just kidding. No, but no, they make some good money. So there's opportunities from a financial perspective as well. So you get the self-improvement, the financial gains, and the opportunity to learn something brand new and keep your mind going and fresh. So that's what I have for you today. I know it's, like I said, a short presentation. Some of the bells and whistles got deleted because I had to rewrite it. But any questions for me? Any comments? Anything you guys want to share with us?
I was just going to say with Phillips, you go to ultrasound class for biomeds. It's 2 days. If you're FSE, it's 1 week.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You get split off. You don't learn, get all the tools that they get. With us, our systems training is 2 days long. But I train Philips engineers when they're multimodality. So if they're a Philips engineer that's going to go out and work on GE, they'll come to my class and learn GE systems. They won't go to GE because GE does the same thing. They limit what they're going to teach to a competitor, right? And to me, it's best to learn all you can, and especially how to work on ultrasounds without needing the passwords or the dongles. If you can learn ways to maintain it without those tools, then you don't need the OEM at all, right? Or very little.
Where's your facility for training?
Our training facility, if you come to ours, is Tulsa, Oklahoma. But again, if you have a group that needs training, if it's one person, it's better to come to my facility. If you have a group of 5, it's better if I come to your facility because I can get all 5 in a short amount of time. It's only one person's hotel, right? Instead of 5 people, my travel. So it depends what you're trying to accomplish, but Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's a wonderful training facility.
And you're the one training.
I do all the training right now, yes. I've been in ultrasound for 17 years. I do nothing but ultrasound. So,
How long is it?
1 day for ultrasound basics is our first one. And we break it up into what we call a DUSC, a diagnostic ultrasound service camp, which is a 5-day course. You can take the 1-day course if you want, that's fine. But if you take the whole camp, it's 5 days long, and you cover the first day ultrasound basics. Day 2 and 3 is a Philips system, either the Epic or the 2233, so you can specify which one of those. And days 4 and 5 are GE training, the Voluson, the Logic, or the Vivid. So I have a class coming up. I leave on Sunday for Tulsa, and we're teaching ultrasound basics, the IU22, IE33 on 2 and 3, days 2 and 3, and the Logic Vivity 9s, days 4 and 5.
And you have the equipment there.
I have all the equipment. It's not me standing up and lecturing. I lecture for about, well, the first day is pretty bad, I got to tell you. A lot of lecture because we talk about how to communicate with a sonographer, all the terminology. But the rest of the class, days 2 through 5, there's a short lecture on that specific system, and then a day and a half of hands-on. You'll reload software, you'll take it apart to the casters, to the wheel, put it back together, make it work. So you'll know how all the parts come out, how they all go back together, how it works. You'll troubleshoot, and it's all hands-on, or a large part of it's hands-on. So great classes. If you've never been to AUS, if you're the first-time student, I discount it. So you get discounted training for your first event. So take advantage of that. At the booth, I have training calendars. Next year's training calendar isn't published, but it will be. But it'd be very similar to this year's, similar meaning the layout will be. We do normally 1 week of training a month. And then if I'm going to you, I go to your facility outside of that week because I'm in Tulsa. Right? Any other questions?
Does your company repair probes?
We do partial repairs. If it's a significant repair like an array, then we send it out. Arrays are really difficult to get right now. COVID did that in. So everybody's ability to get just the parts of it is difficult.
Your program, you shows, to bring a ultrasound in-house as a biomed.
Mhm.
But, I review resumes, and I find that the ultrasound training is offered mostly, or taken mostly by the X-ray. You mentioned the X-ray people. I don't know, that's kind of a different modality, isn't it?
It's absolutely different. I don't work on X-ray. And I did used to work for Mary X-ray. That's where the joke came from. Okay. I like Mary X-ray. Don't get me wrong. I just joking. But they came up as an X-ray company. That's what they created, right? And then they said, well, I have this hospital and they need somebody to do ultrasound. So they kind of forced their engineers to do ultrasound on the side, and they were not very good at it because they weren't really trained like they were. They were trained to do X-ray, not trained to do ultrasound, but they had to do it to keep the account.
The reason why I bring that up is because, I mean, as a biomed, you go in there and try to talk to your management, to the administration, to bring an in-house program.
Mhm.
That might make it difficult because of the fact that they see it as a imaging.
Yeah, but there's a lot of, I mean, it is an imaging modality, but, and it does have some complications to it. You can't put it on you have to do PMs as prescribed. You can't put it, there's a term I'm looking for and it just killed that brain cell. Where you can't, alternate equipment maintenance program, that's what I was trying to say. You can't do that for ultrasound, right? Because it's an imaging modality, and they say if it's an imaging modality, you can't do it. But having said that, there's no radiation, there's no magnets. It's something that, to me, biomed department doesn't have to have an imaging guy doing ultrasound. They need a person who's willing to learn. And if they're willing to learn and they have a basis, they know a little bit about a Windows computer and they know a little bit about electronics, which to me, every biomed does, then you're set up perfectly to bring it in-house and make it successful.
You also mentioned the checklist, which is a good thing to have.
Right.
And you could copy up. Well, I found many years that some companies don't provide checklists, but they say the one checklist they do provide is we checked it. And
We
they
check-
have it on file.
If you ever have a problem with a checklist, call me. I'll give you a checklist. I'll give you our checklist. Yes,
Do your PMs always use ultrasound phantoms?
absolutely.
I've heard some companies like Philips who won't use phantoms. And I thought, how do you do it?
You really can't, right? But GE did it too, to some extent, in their service manual and their latest ones, the Logic E9s, the Logic 10s. They put a quote in there, no PM required. Okay, so they don't need a PM anymore, right? But then they tell you have to clean the filters weekly, you have to clean the monitor weekly, you have to clean the probe daily, you have to clean. They go through and they put timelines for each thing, each event, and they tell you to check image quality, but they don't tell you how to check image quality. But without a phantom, you really can't consistently check image quality, right? Our PM checklist does require a phantom and gives us very specific things we have to check using a phantom. And I'll send you our PM checklist. I have no problem with that. We cover every aspect of an OEM PM. Doesn't matter if it's Toshiba, GE, Philips, Siemens. We went through all their checklists when they had them, when they would provide them, and we meet all their OEM requirements for a PM. So ours is inclusive.